4 languages, 1 engineer, 1 broken deploy at 2 in the morning. The service that went down is 40 lines long. Fixing it should take 4 minutes. It's going to take 4 hours, not because the bug is hard, because the person who wrote it is asleep, and the language it's written in is not the language this engineer thinks in. On paper, this is the dream stack. Every box holds the objectively best tool for its job. A staff engineer drew this diagram. It got applause. Here's the number nobody put on the slide. A team of 30 engineers, and for any given production incident, the average number of people who can safely read the failing code is under 4. The obvious explanation is that those 4 are just better. Skill issue. Hire harder. That explanation is wrong, and the fact that it's wrong is the entire story. Because every single decision that built this trap was correct, locally. The disaster only exists globally. This is a tragedy of the commons, running inside your codebase. So let's put the language wars aside. This is not a video about which language is best. Rust is fantastic. Python is fantastic. That was never the question. The question is what happens when the best tool for the job is chosen 4 separate times, by 4 separate teams, each optimizing their own square, and nobody is optimizing the whole board. Let's walk the 4 ways this kills you. Start with the seduction, because it's real. Each choice is defensible in isolation. The ML team picks Python, of course. That's where the libraries live. The gateway team picks Go, of course. Goroutines, cheap concurrency. The core team picks Rust, of course. No garbage collector. Predictable latency. The front end picks TypeScript, of course. It runs in the browser. 4 of courses. 4 correct answers. And here's the trap. Correctness at the level of the task does not sum to correctness at the level of the system. Flexibility was the promise, but flexibility past a certain point is just a nicer word for friction. Every language boundary you add is a place where a type has to be reserialized, a build has to be reconfigured, an error has to be reinterpreted, and a human has to relearn how the world works. Same concept, 3 languages, 3 mental models. In Rust, you own it and the compiler won't let you forget. In Python, the same idea is loose, dynamic, forgiving, and silent when it's wrong. In Go, it's explicit, verbose, and error-first by ritual. 3 correct programs. But a person moving between them at 2 a.m. is not switching syntax. They're switching value systems. In one, null can't exist. In the next, null hides everywhere. In the third, every error is a thing you carry by hand. Your brain has to reboot its assumptions at every border. That reboot has a name. And it's not a language problem. It's a human one. Meet Juan. Every polyglot company has a Juan. Juan wrote the Rust core 2 years ago. It's beautiful. It's fast. It has never gone down. It has never gone down because Juan never goes down. Juan reviews every change to it. Juan is the human documentation. Juan is a single point of failure wearing a hoodie. Juan goes to the beach. Saturday night, the Rust core panics. And now the maintenance nightmare begins. And notice what the nightmare actually is. It is not a hard bug. The nightmare is a burned-out developer on a Sunday at 2 a.m., learning a borrow checker they've never touched, reading a library they've never imported, to change one line, a line they're terrified to change because they can't predict what it breaks. This is the thing the architecture diagram can't show you. Software is not files. Software is people trying to understand what another person was thinking 6 months ago. Every language you add is another dialect that thought was expressed in, another translation layer between a human and the intent behind the code. Cognitive load is the real bill, and a polyglot stack pays that bill in the most expensive currency there is, the finite attention of the few people who can hold 4 languages in their head at once. You are not scaling your system. You are scaling your dependence on Juan. If this kind of breakdown is useful to you, you can support the channel on Patreon or by becoming a member. Now, the defenders of the polyglot stack have a real argument, and I want to give it its strongest form. Multiple languages help you hire. You post a job with Rust and Go and modern ML tooling, and the good engineers come running, because nobody wants to spend their 20s writing the same Java as their manager did. That's true. It works. And it is exactly how the horse gets through the gate. Because here's what nobody says out loud. Polyglot doesn't just create technical debt. It fragments the culture. Think about what a code review is. It's not a formality. It's the moment your team shares a mental model. It's how knowledge stops being one person's and becomes everyone's. Now, can your Go engineer meaningfully review your Python ML pipeline? Can your Rust engineer catch a subtle bug in the TypeScript front end? If the honest answer is no, and it usually is, then review becomes a rubber stamp. and the second review becomes a rubber stamp, you no longer have a team. And right about here, someone in the comments is already typing, "That's what protobuf is for." Shared schemas. Contracts at the boundary. And that's a fair point. So let me take it seriously. A schema tells you the shape of the data crossing the border. It does not tell you the behavior on the other side. It doesn't tell you about the retry logic, the timeout, the one edge case that quietly panics at 2 a.m. under load. A contract documents the interface. It does not transfer the understanding. That understanding is still trapped in the language it was written in, and a Go engineer staring at a perfectly valid protobuf definition still can't tell you what the Python service actually does when the third field comes back null. Each silo speaks its own language, literally. Knowledge stops flowing across the boundaries because the boundaries are made of syntax nobody on the other side reads. The thing you use to attract talent is the same thing that stops that talent from ever becoming one organism. You hired fast. You onboarded into a fortress with 4 separate doors and no hallways between them. And this was already bad in 2022. Then the accelerant showed up. AI just made writing all 4 languages nearly free. Ask the model, and it will hand you idiomatic Rust, idiomatic Python, idiomatic Go, idiomatic TypeScript instantly, confidently, at any hour. No Juan required to write it, which sounds like the cure. It's the opposite, because the bottleneck in a polyglot system was never writing the code. It was understanding it. It was one human being holding the whole board in their head. AI removed the only friction that was slowing the sprawl down, and it removed exactly none of the friction of comprehension. And yes, you can turn around and ask another model to explain the Rust core back to you. It'll do it, cheerfully, in 3 tidy paragraphs. But a summary is not a mental model. It tells you what the code does. It doesn't tell you what happens when you change it. And what breaks if I touch this line is the only question you're actually asking at 2 a.m. So now you generate 10 languages worth of code that nobody on the team has ever mentally compiled. It runs. It passes the tests it wrote for itself. And the industry benchmarks published this year say the quiet part out loud. Teams shipping AI-generated code are watching their technical debt climb 30–40%. Not because the code is wrong, because nobody who touches it next actually understands it. And it is instant legacy, code with no living author, in a language half your team can't read, that entered production the moment it was written. You didn't get faster, you just got fragile faster. I've defended a stack like this. I've stood in front of a diagram and argued, sincerely, that each language was the right call, and every individual argument I made was correct. That's the part that took me years to see. I wasn't wrong about any single language. I was wrong about the thing the languages added up to. So here's the reframe. The question was never, what's the best tool for the job? The real question, the one the ego doesn't want asked, is, are we choosing the best language for the task, or are we feeding the technical ego of the team at the expense of the company's future? The competitive advantage is not the fastest runtime. It's not the trendiest stack. It's the team where any engineer can read any part of the system, review any change, and fix any incident without a 4-hour reboot of their own brain. Boring, shared, legible. That's the moat. Friction is the tax, and a polyglot stack pays it forever. And if you want to see the end game of this, what happens when you let AI generate that sprawl unsupervised across every language with nobody left who understands it? I spent 6 months auditing exactly that codebase. The video is called I Audited 6 Months of AI Code. It's all instant legacy. It's the second half of this argument. Watch that next.